Greetings to you all and welcome to day one of the Solar Activations webinar. I am Kwan and I am here with Lotus.
Hello everybody and welcome. May I personally thank everybody for actively participating in the evolution of our beautiful planet here with us today.
That's a lovely thing to say. And yes, I am so grateful that all of you are here with us today for actually what is the first official webinar of Ascendosphere.com. And for those of you who have seen some of our earlier videos on the Ascendosphere, you will know it has been a while since Lotus and I have broadcast together, hasn't it?
Yeah, I was surprised to hear actually how long it had been. We've done a few hangouts together, but
yeah,
in this format, it's been years, I believe, isn't it?
I think the last time was actually 2012.
Yeah, it's a long time.
Yes, which of course, as everyone who is here today with us will know, was a very important year in human evolution, especially the evolution of consciousness. And given that all of you out there today are consciousness pioneers and exist on the leading edge of human expansion, you will know what that means. However, 2012 was only one step along a larger path. And the year that we are currently about to leave behind, and also 2016, which we are of course about to step into in a few days from now, is going to be another huge step on the path that is human expansion and soul expansion. So thank you again for being with us. As you all know, this is day one of 5 different parts, different days in which we will be presenting you with this information. And I'm seeing a lot of you are currently still on their way in. I'm just going to have a quick look to see which parts of the world are represented here, Lotus. We're seeing that France is represented, South Africa, Mexico, the Netherlands, Belgium, the United States, Greece, more people from Mexico, people from Brazil are here, and the UK, and people from all over the world, really. We have at least 15 different countries currently representing human evolution, and that is quite a nice feat, I believe. What do you feel about that?
It seems like quite a cosmopolitan conquest, if you ask me. Yeah, great. Well, welcome to everyone, wherever you are.
Yes, very, very big welcome. As all of you know, of course, the first time that we announced this webinar, the solar activation, goes all the way back to June of 2015. So first of all, I would like to thank you all for being patient and holding on with us as we prepared for all of these steps that are now in place, that have now connected, which was quite a road. You will all know this yourselves, as it wasn't just us, of course, that was going through 2015, but it was all of you as well. And it has been quite a year, hasn't it?
Yeah, I would like to say it's been easy, but it simply wouldn't be the case. Trials and tribulations, a lot of blood, sweat and tears to get to this point. So thank you for hanging in there.
Yes.
That means a lot to us.
Yes, it certainly does. And of course, in the course of this webinar, as all of you know, you will be able to ask your questions. You can either type in your questions in the comment box, in the question box in your dashboard, or you can raise your hand, which means that you can join us live. Scary. Live in audio and or video if you have those capabilities on your own computer. Now, if anything is unclear to you in the course of today's broadcast, if we have the time at the end of today's broadcast, we will give you the chance to ask your questions live, or if we run over a little today, then we'll do that at the beginning of day 2. And I'm already seeing that some people have been throwing in their questions here, which is nice to see. I see that Mayana is with us. Hello, Mayana. She says, thank you so much and great to be here. Ciro from Mexico is also here, who actually told us that our camera was on before we actually started.
Oh, really?
Yes. Yes,
Okay.
it does happen sometimes that we give a little bit of a sneak peek into what is happening behind the scenes. Yes, yes. So that is very interesting. There's also Sharon Palmer. Hello, Sharon. I know that you have been following our work on the Ascendosphere for quite some time now, and also on Facebook. I've seen you pop up regularly. It's lovely that you are here with us. And she asks the question, which I'll go into before we get going into the deeper part of this material. She says, will these activations become more taxing on my body, or will they begin to release the physical health challenges I am experiencing, along with pneumonia once again? Well, Sharon, what I can say, and this goes of course for all of you, is that what we have gone through in 2015 has been quite a ride, and it has especially been taxing on the physical body and on the psychological body, I would say. And this has not so much to do with the activations that have been happening throughout the solar system, but rather the activations that have been happening inside of your own energetic vessel. So, in other words, the inner solar system has gone through quite some upgrades this year. And while this will continue to happen in 2016, 2017, and 2018, it is my experience, or it has been my experience on other planets that have been going through what currently humanity is going through, that after the first wave, which has now passed and which we're going to be talking about in the webinar today, that the externalization process will start to occur. Today we'll talk about the morphogenetic field and how your relationship to the solar system actually affects reality creation, for instance. So you could say that in a way, upgrades are complete now as far as the inner solar system is concerned. So you should start to feel all of this subside. You have gone through quite some things as well, I believe. We all have, haven't we?
Yeah, all of us.
Last year.
Yeah, don't feel it's an isolated, unique case. You're having these problems. Yeah, it's everywhere. If you think about what's actually happening this year, the entire fabric of reality is changing. This is bound to have effects on the physical form, but nice to hear that it's actually drawing to a close.
Exactly. I am glad to hear that anyway, because as you all know, I've only been in this body since 2009, and it has been quite a ride. I am looking forward to what is next, because all of the preparations are now sort of out of the way as far as human consciousness is concerned, and now we can start to play with all of this, and that is of course a very, very good thing. So shall we get going?
Yes, let's.
All right. The first thing I want to bring your attention to, and this lines up with when this webinar was first announced, is of course the Venus-Jupiter alignment with a zenith on June 30th, 2015, which is now over half a year ago, of course. And the Venus-Jupiter alignment, as many of you must have felt, was a very, very important time in human history. In order to understand this properly, we must talk about the meaning of the solar system, what it actually is, what you are in relation to it, and what it is in relation to you. How do you interact with this solar system? What is the physical reality of this solar system, etc.? All of these questions in the coming days will be answered. Today, however, we will stick to an introduction to some of the topics that will become more explained in depth as the days of this webinar go along. In fact, for most of the coming days of this webinar, I hardly will be here myself, as if you have read the description to this webinar, the solar system itself is going to communicate with all of you. I believe that in day 2, Lotus, we have the solar body known as the Sun herself, who's going to do and present most of the material. And in day 3 and day 4, we will have Venus dropping by, not the planet itself, only her consciousness, otherwise that would be a bit much, don't you think? And the next day of the webinar we'll have Jupiter, to then continue in day 4 and day 5 with some other bodies, such as, for instance, Saturn. And in the conclusion of day 5, we'll take some extra time to go deep into a Q&A with all of you. So at that time, definitely make sure you're dressed when you're watching us, because we're going to turn the camera on at that point on you. and at that point, we're going to go deep into your own experiences, and you'll have enough time at that point to ask all of the questions that you might have. So back to the Venus-Jupiter alignment of 2015, June 30th. What are you doing in this solar system? Why is it manifest around you? That is the first question we really should ask. And that question takes me back to 2007, where Ikara, whom all of you have probably heard last night in the first solar meditation that accompanies this webinar. It's called The Power of 1,000 Suns. It's available on our site and also on our YouTube channel, where Ikara in 2007 presented a series known as Mastering the Grand Illusions. Many of you will have seen it. It's in 14 parts and you can find it free on our site. Now, in that event, Ikara already touched upon what we are going to go deeper into today. If some of you will remember, Ikara discussed the positive or negative flow of the electromagnetic field of our bodies. And in order to calculate the electromagnetic flow, which can either spin in a positive or in a negative direction, one has to look at all of the different cells, the cellular structure itself of the body. Indeed, each cell of our body has an electromagnetic spin. And when I say that this spin can be positive or negative, human mind often thinks of literal positives or negatives in that way. Yes, exactly. And that is not at all what we are talking about. Good or bad has nothing to do with this. The positive spin basically only means that the flow of energy, of electromagnetic energy, is in line with the flow of the solar system. A negative spin would mean it is resisting the flow of the solar system in which you sit. And again, resisting doesn't necessarily mean a bad thing. I'm going to go deeper into that. But to come back to the point, when you look at the cells in your body, they are obviously organized into organs mostly, and each organ can be calculated as a combination of millions and millions of cells, each with their own spin. Now, it is a very simple calculation which anyone can do for themselves with proper focus, and which we're also going to teach you how to do in the days to come. But when you calculate the amount of positive and the amount of negative spin in the cells of one particular organ, you create the general spin faculty of that particular organ. Let's say the liver, for instance. Then the heart will have a different type of spin, etc., etc., etc. And all of these can then again be calculated into the general electromagnetic spin of your own physical body in total. Now, why is this important? I'll tell you why. Because it is the way in which you communicate with everything that is around you, with the solar system itself, with people that are around you, the different planets in the solar system, other solar systems, other galaxies, the universe itself. people often think that when they try to communicate with other beings or with the sun, that they have to do it through thoughts or they have to send energy through the heart. And if you follow the work of beings such as Abraham, presented via Esther Hicks, for instance, you will often hear that it's all about vibration. And in a way, this is true, but it goes a bit beyond vibration, because vibration is ultimately a culmination of electromagnetics, you see. So rather than communicating the way we are doing now in words, when you communicate with the larger universe as a whole, you do it using your electromagnetic frequency. And you see that electromagnetic frequency fits in a certain ladder, which is 12 steps, of course, of one vibration. In the old vibratory universe, you used to be a being of 12 vibrations, and each of these vibrations have 12 frequencies. The frequencies are the rate of vibratory momentum that each vibration carries, you see. So this is how you actually communicate with your external universe, depending on what you are feeling, how you are feeling, what sort of an emotional state you are in. Your organs will realign their electromagnetic spin. And in doing so, the entire body will realign its electromagnetic spin, you see. Now, that electromagnetic spin interacts directly with the electromagnetic field of Earth, of Gaia herself. And Gaia herself, her electromagnetic field has a spin rate as well, which sometimes goes from positive to negative and back again. And the way Gaia, or Earth, changes her electromagnetic spin literally has to do with the beings that are on her skin, as she would herself call the surface field of Earth. The beings, these can include humans, obviously, but also animals, minerals, plant life, and all the interdimensional life that even science to this day hasn't been able to detect yet. So do you understand that you have a direct impact on the relationship between Earth and the rest of the solar system? In other words, if many people go into negativity on this Earth, the spin cycle of Gaia, of Earth herself, will change, and her relationship to the solar system will therefore change. Now, in the course of time, we have seen positive and negative examples of this. All of you, I believe, will know the stories of 1,000 people or 100,000 people coming together to meditate, for instance, on world peace. There are actual records that you can look up on Google and on the internet in general about this, where tests were done, even I believe in the United States, tests were done where 1,000 or 100,000 people came together to meditate on world peace, which all of a sudden then saw the crime rate in the United States or even worldwide drop significantly. So that is an example of humanity choosing to have a positive impact on planet Earth's relationship to all that is. A negative example would be 9/11, where so many people were made aware of something really terrible, of course, happening in New York on September 11th, on that day, where the Twin Towers obviously were removed from our reality field. And this led to a lot of negativity, a lot of negative thoughts, a lot of fear coming through, which then changes the electromagnetic spin cycle of Earth, which therefore creates friction between Earth, the other systems around the solar system even, etc., etc., etc. Ultimately, this goes all the way back to the central sun, which then collects all of this data and sends out new waves of information to compensate for this or to create a different reality field. So this is often what has happened in the past. If you have read the description of this webinar, then, and if you have watched our previous videos over the last months and years, then you will know that Earth has been affected strongly by what I would call archonic forces. And these forces had the intent to create a great deal, as much as possible, an amount of friction so that Earth would no longer be able to sustain herself within the solar system and would literally become a rogue planet. Now, rogue planets do exist all over the galaxy, all over the universe. Rogue planets are planets who are in so much friction to their star that they ultimately escape the gravitational well of that star and start moving through the galaxy without a star present. You actually see this with certain planets that the archons have been working with before. You also see this with the Anunnaki, who are strongly connected to the archons. Usually all of their homeworlds, all of their planets do not relate directly to a star. And the reason they do this is to separate that pocket of reality from the central sun so that they can create a cosmic matrix. In order to do so, first of all, a planetary matrix is created, which of course has been active on Earth for quite a long time already, for thousands and thousands of years. Many people claim that the archonic forces only became active on Earth at around 162 BC, I believe is what many people say. But the truth is that is only when they became fully active, when they came into full effect. Of course, the archonic matrix influence goes back much, much further than that, up to 50,000 years ago, when they first started influencing Lemurian society, which effectively cut off the fluid Achaenaic, tonal Lemuria, and created a physical version of Lemuria, which then later on continued onward with Atlantis, affected Egypt, affected all the empires that basically came after that, and the current empire that you sit in really is no much of a difference in that respect. So when that Earth matrix or that planetary matrix ultimately causes that friction to go far enough so that that particular planet, in this case Earth, disconnects herself from a star, that is when a cosmic matrix is born. Now, when a cosmic matrix is born, very often technology is involved, and very often the species or the multiple species that are affected by it feel that they actually move into a greater sense of freedom. But that does not necessarily mean the active ingredient that we know as freedom. As you know, the active pipeline that we often say of love, joy, freedom, truth, and life. Because this is the one thing, you see, that happens with a negative spin. The negative spin, although it is not necessarily a negative effect, separates one from the active ingredient of love. And once the active ingredient of love is no longer flowing, then of course joy, freedom, truth, and life and all of that shuts down. And that literally shuts down humanity's relationship to the morphogenetic field, you see. The morphogenetic field is the way in which humanity creates reality in relation to other humans, in relation to other planets, in relation to the solar system itself. And I was in the middle earlier of explaining to you how that worked. So let's continue with that. So when you calculate the general electromagnetic spin of all humans on Earth, which then interacts with the electromagnetic spin of Earth herself, Earth, in her turn, communicates with the Sun. And in order to understand this, we must explain to you a little bit more in depth what the Sun truly is. Many people that are attending today would say, we know that the Sun is a portal, we know that the universe is not exactly what science tells us that it is, but you properly have no true understanding in your science right now with regards to portals. Most people get it confused because they have watched too much sci-fi, where you have the Hollywood flashing lights and all of that stuff. But that is not exactly how a portal works. If you have watched yesterday's broadcast by Ikara, you'll start to have a slightly better idea of what a portal truly is, and that there only is one real way to manifest the portal, which is from the chakra system, from the head, the heart, and the belly. And most portals, as some amongst us will already know, are created via the heart chakra, via the akene. Now, when the portal of the Sun interacts with humanity and therefore at the same time also interacts with the central Sun at the start, at center, well, in a way it is the start of the universe itself, what happens is the surface field tension of the spherical energy that is the consciousness known as the Sun creates little impacts. So I'll give you an example. Let's say, Lotus, that you're having a really bad day. And you wake up and you get out of bed on the wrong foot, and you start to create a bunch of negative thoughts about how you're feeling, and you start hitting your toe, and you slip in the shower, whatever happens as you start manifesting this, that effect will go via Earth directly to the solar body known as the Sun. And no matter how small you may think you are as a human being compared to the big, big Sun that is out there, your thoughts, your feelings, your electromagnetic spin will create a little dent on the surface of the Sun. Now, you have to think of the Sun in a way, much like your akene, as a holographic projector. So that little dent that gets created reverberates back out into the solar system and creates a different version of reality. Do you see? Now, yes, it is quite fascinating because many people don't think about life that way. So if you create friction, you will create the dent that I have just described in the spherical being known as the Sun. If you create harmony, you will create a slight expansion, a slight bulb that actually sticks out and creates a larger, we're talking nanomillimeters here, but still a larger version of the Sun, which therefore creates another pulse and creates a better version of reality, not only for yourself, but also for everyone else around you. And this happens all the time. If you actually look at NASA pictures and images of the Sun, which granted half the time they're not even real images, but sometimes they are, and they get the principle of what the surface of the Sun sort of looks like pretty much right, then you'll see that it is almost like an ocean of momentum.
Yes.
Much like you have waves in the ocean and the water goes up and down and all of these different fluctuations. The same happens on the Sun, but it happens because of consciousness. It happens because of how humanity and other forms of life interact. So if you then go back to the influence that certain species have had such as the Archons, such as the Anunnaki, such as the reptilians, etc., 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 on humanity's thoughts. The amount of negative thoughts that are created all the time on planet Earth, you can imagine the impact that that actually has on the solar body. You see, I'm going to take a sip of water here in the meantime.
It's quite incredible to hear that, actually.
Yes, yes. But the truth of the matter is, I'm telling you all of this after the fact, because since the Venus-Jupiter alignment of June 30th, all of that not exactly has come to an end, but the generation of the amount of negativity on planet Earth has severely, severely diminished. Where once we had a sort of division, if you will, of about over 90% of negative and therefore negative spin and therefore friction, negative thoughts that used to be created on planet Earth, and only about 10% of positive spin. Now we are already entering, since June 30th, into a 50-50 balance. And by where we're going to go in the next discussions of the days as we go through the year 2015, you'll start to see that all of these cosmic events, such as the blood moons that we've gone through, the squares that we've gone through, the eclipses that we've gone through, I mean, the list is too long to mention, that percentage has only diminished and diminished and diminished. Right now, in fact, and I know that some of you might think this can't possibly be the case, we are looking at a 99% positive and 1% negative generation. And the reason why this is important is that if you look back to the 90-10 percentage division that I just told you, it was mostly humanity that was responsible for the 90% negative, and mostly the other species, such as animals, such as the mineral and plant life, that was responsible for the positive generation. And that is even including the fact that even those beings, such as animals, such as plant life, were manipulated into killing one another. Animals eat one another, don't they? Plant life goes through cycles of life and death and rebirth. So all of that was, of course, a manipulation to keep as many negative fields alive. But humanity, in the course of this year, ladies and gentlemen, has truly, truly stepped up to the plate. And I'm really grateful for that, because that is, of course, what Ascended Life has been working with you all on for the longest of times. So that is actually, in brief, as an introduction, what the Venus-Jupiter alignment actually did. Now, this goes all the way back to the harmonic convergence in 1987, the concordance in early 2000, the early 21st century. I mean, all of these things started to prepare this species for the Venus-Jupiter alignment that recently happened. And I don't know about you, but from where we were sitting back in June 30th, I know that every single thing was being done by these supposed darker forces to stop the Venus-Jupiter alignment from happening. In fact, I believe that that day, on June 30th, we were preparing to enter into this recording that we are only doing now today. And it was very important to us at the time that we could do so directly under the light that was being generated by Venus and Jupiter coming together. But about half an hour or an hour before the recording was supposed to take place, and this happens here a lot, given that there are very strong Lemurian energies here in the Algarve in Portugal, where we are. The entire weather system changed. A very strange misty cloud formation came in and completely encompassed our house the Ascension house that we live in, and shut everything down. There was no energy going out, there was no energy coming in. We were absolutely stuck. And we have been receiving that sort of difficulty for the better part of the second half of 2015. But as I said, of course, we have broken through that now. That day of causing harassment, that sort of type of harassment is really over. So what the Venus-Jupiter alignment truly did is it allowed Venus, who is actually quite a powerful warrior. When you hear her in the next few days of this webinar, you will see Venus actually disconnected Earth from the matrix, from the planetary matrix, which was being fed into Earth from Saturn, because it is Saturn that actually is used to generate this field. Again, more about that in the days to come. And reconnected Earth to Jupiter. Now, Jupiter and Earth have always been the best of buddies. If you know, they've always had a very good alignment, a very good harmony between them, and so Earth and Venus. We'll also be talking about some of the other planets that were influenced in this, because also for Mars, the Venus-Jupiter alignment was very powerful. In fact, where NASA and other scientific outlets were trying to convince all of us, humanity here, that there actually is no life on Mars, that it is a dead planet and all of that, this was nothing more than a cloaking device, if you will, that was put over that planet, was put over its population, and humanity here on Earth and humanity on Mars were therefore unable to truly interact. Now, I know that for some of you this may sound strange, but when you hear the explanation, the in-depth explanation that we're going to be giving you in the next days after this introductory class, you will understand the deeper meanings of all of this and how it is possible that this could happen. In fact, to make your mind spin a little bit more, let me already give you this. Humanity actually comes from Mars. Humanity has never been native to Earth. I mean, look at it. You never see a species like humanity on Earth. Every other species is covered in hair. Every other species has no interaction with past, present, and future. Every other species on this planet does not have the mind that was given to humanity. But that mind was not given to humanity, or forced upon humanity rather, here on Earth. No, instead it was actually forced upon humanity all the way back when humanity was still on Mars only. And on Mars, humanity has been alive for at least, how long? I mean, it's hard to put a number to, but let's say at least several billion years, because of course the year factor that we have here does not calculate in the same way over there. But has been alive there for a long time. Humanity has colonized Venus first. Humanity colonized the Marduk planet, which was basically between Venus, Mars, and Earth, all right, which is now known as the asteroid belt, I believe is what you're calling it, after she was destroyed. And the reason why Marduk was destroyed, some call it Malduk, we used to call it Marduk, because that is actually what the species that lived there called it. This was destroyed in order to activate the planetary matrix, both on Earth and on Mars, and ultimately also if trying to affect Venus. But Venus actually never allowed this. The colony of humanity that exists on Venus was very, very advanced, and is very advanced, not technologically per se the way we know technology, but more of an inner type of technology. In a way, you could consider Venus a Lemurian colony. What exists on Venus is very similar to what existed and continues to exist in the fluid Lemuria. So more about that as the days pass. So when all of this was taking place, when all of this shifting was taking place, shifting started happening in your system as well, which is why 2015, the second half of it, has been such a hectic year for many of you. In many cases, it manifested in psychological issues, mental issues, emotional issues. In some cases, as Sharon pointed out earlier, physical issues. Some people had serious physical effects. And I believe that in many cases, if you look at your physical structure, most of humanity will have felt weaker in the second half of 2015 on a physical level than they ever have before. And yet at the same time, it's very difficult to find out what is exactly wrong with people. It's not as though there's a disease. It's not as though there is any type of damage. It's more of a weakness that was put upon us as the disconnection with Saturn happened. So at that point, when Venus reconnected Earth on June 30th with Jupiter, an entirely new Achinaic infusion happened, and the morphogenetic field was forever changed. Because this is what I wanted to tell you earlier, you see, where in the past, before all of this took place, the only way we could communicate, all of us humanity could communicate with the sun, with the solar system, with interdimensional and interplanetary life, back then used to be the electromagnetic field. The main change that has occurred now is that it is happening through the torus field. And the torus field includes your thoughts directly, your words directly, your feelings directly, but not your emotions, not the matrix-based thoughts that came into humanity all the time. Ikara again explained this yesterday when he said you basically have 3 suns in your body, and all of these suns give out millions and millions of rays of light, and these are true thought formations. Whereas within the planetary matrix, based on Saturnic energy that we've been in, thoughts were being fed into us, you see. And all of that is archetypes, all of that is all of these things that we talk about in other courses. You understand this, I guess?
Yes, although I spent a lot of time in the car yesterday, I didn't hear the message yet.
Oh, you didn't?
No,
Okay.
so, but I do understand, yes.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. So that is how that happens. So now the morphogenetic field is forever changed, and your interaction with it is extremely more powerful than it was before. This is why things manifest quicker for you, both the good and the bad manifests quicker for you. Sometimes even thinking about something a few seconds later it'll be there. The circumstance will come to pass in one way or another, if not for you, then basically for others around you. So as all of this continued to build since June 30th, further and further and higher and stronger, and in many cases with more and more difficulty inside of you, we now come all the way to November and December, where we hit the Saturn-Neptune square. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is a real biggie. That Saturn-Neptune square, in its turn, affected and forever changed Saturn herself. This is the only reason why not only she wants to speak to you in the days to come, but also why we are allowing that communication to happen, because before that it was a very difficult planet to interact with, the very mental energy, very much a scalar energy, if you will. Just to explain very quickly, scalar fields are binary fields, whereas the Achinaic field is a trinary field. Trinary field means that energy comes in and out at 30 and 60 degree angles, whereas scalar fields basically mean digital binary coding where you have ups and angles that are like this and constantly moving, the way you can actually see on a lot of digital these things that you do with music.
Waveforms.
Waveforms, yes, exactly. So as Saturn in the Saturn-Neptune square dropped all of that, dropped out of that planetary matrix generator that it actually used to be, you are going to see, and this is going to be reported, I'm sure, not by NASA, but more by self-made astrologers and self-made astronomers, if you will, that have their own equipment. You're going to see the hexagonal, the hexagonal storm that exists on Mars.
Oh, yeah.
And the eye that used to exist on Mars, you're going to see these things fade away because the broadcast system that used to be in place is fading away, you see. So that is actually what the Saturn-Neptune square did. That was the climax of it all, and currently Neptune energy is being fed into the Saturnic energy. The Saturnic energy is all about time. People have called it Chronos. It's all about time and space and linearity and all of that sort of thing. Manifestation, physical matter, while the Neptune energy has to do with fluidity. Neptune doesn't involve anything such as linearity, doesn't believe in past, present, and future. Neptune is literally in the now moment. And this is what is happening to Saturn. And in the course of 2016, this will complete for Saturn, after which one final blast will actually occur, so that all of the other planets in the solar system, including Earth, will be affected in that same way. Now, what does this mean for humanity itself? This, first of all, is affecting you in your brain, because the left and right sides of your brain, the left and right hemispheres, are starting to balance out. You know that the left hemisphere used to be the time-based thinking, while the right hemisphere used to be the creative thinking, again, more Neptunian, the left brain being more Saturnian. So that is balancing, which in the course of 2016 and 2017 is going to allow the pineal gland to open up for all of humanity, whether they like it or not. and that also means all of the beings that are connected or that have affected Earth in that entire planetary matrix history are going to be opening up. And this is what Ikara has said long ago in the Mastering the Grand Illusion series, basically the creation of the third lobe of the brain, where the bridge between the two hemispheres is closing, that gap, the white bridge, as Lorien would say. This is a being that I have channeled before. I still have to put his material back online, but the white bridge is the gap between the left and the right hemisphere of the brain. This is being closed now by the pineal gland, and this is the evolution that humanity is technically in, you see. Have you felt any of these effects for yourself? How has reality creation been for you over the last half year, let's say?
Well, certainly in the latter half of this last half of the year, it's been incredibly fast. If you think about some of the exercises we've gone through, it's ridiculous how fast it is. And especially when you have two or more people focus on the same thing, it's almost instantaneous. You really can see results immediately. In terms of feeling exactly what's happening physically, I mean, who knows? It's just a case of hanging on, really, just trusting and knowing that that's natural. It's all par for the course. It's a huge evolution that we're all going through, and very evident if you take the time yourself to focus on things you want to manifest. I'm sure you will find it much, much easier than you ever have done before. Frighteningly quick. If you're going the wrong way as well, be careful with that. I mean, it's really, about focusing consciously on the outcome you really wish to see continuously, without falling back and allowing negative influences to manifest your reality around you. So it's huge. It's huge. There's a huge difference, to answer your question.
And thank
short.
God, and what you said about this negative manifestation, thank God on that level that we're currently as a species being helped with the flower of life geometry, because don't forget what Merkaya said, of course, even a negative creation will ultimately lead to positive outcomes, positive manifestations, if you can just hold on long enough, really, to weather it through, to see it through. That actually, we have had direct effects of that here ourselves. I mean, especially maybe the last 2 weeks or something, we have seen direct results of that, where it was up and down, but ultimately there is this upward motion where things rebalance, where the flower of life takes over, and ultimately, things start moving forward again. There's a question here, Lotus, by Ciro. Hello, Ciro.
Hello, Ciro.
And I hope Coca is also there. The question is there going to be a rearrangement of planets in the solar system because of cymatics? Different frequency, different distribution of mass. Well, Ciro, you've again gotten it directly here. You spotted that very well. In fact, this is already happening. You need to know, of course, that one of the ways in which these electromagnetic fields interact with one another is what humanity, science anyway, these days calls gravity. Yes? Now, gravity is sound. Gravity creates waves, pockets, that ultimately these planets line up in and move around the sun in, if you look at it from a physical perspective anyway. Now that gravity field is changing into something different, something that we call levity. All right? Now, levity is not necessarily the opposite of gravity, but it is the balanced version of gravity. This means that the entire song of the solar system is changing, and where we had very erratic and very irregular dispersion of gravity waves, which you can see in the orbit of planets around the sun, this is now changing as planets are harmonizing with the solar body, as all of these things that I've spoken of earlier is basically now taking place. The entire song is changing. This is why people like David Wilcock, but also actual scientists, have been sharing for the last couple of years that conditions on these planets are rapidly evolving. Mercury, for instance, has heated up. Venus has created a stronger atmosphere than ever before. You see these effects happening because the planets are moving in different positions and ultimately creating this one harmonic akineic song. So that is where all of that comes from. So in short, yes, the rearrangement is taking place, but don't forget, of course, that also means that the rearrangement is taking place on the inside as well. Several years ago, I think it was 2011, we had Gaia as a guest on one of our shows, who spoke of the first time spoke of the solar system inside of the head. I don't know if you remember that. I think it was in one of the Awakening the World shows or something. And that is actually, it's that long ago that this process that you are now discussing started happening. It's first happened on the inside of humanity, and now, as I said at the beginning of this program, it's starting to manifest on the outside, you see. So this whole instability that existed between all of the planetary bodies, this gravitic mass, this gravitic war that was always going on, push and pull, that is coming to an end, and that is also coming to an end for most of, or if not all, of course, of humanity.
Great question.
Yes, thank you, thank you. I'm going to see what else I want to touch upon here today before we go deeper into day two and all of these pieces that are coming. Yes, I guess one of the things I want to touch upon still is the changes that are occurring in the human body, because a lot of the diseases that humanity has suffered from over the years and that have actually become extremely potent since the 1930s and 1940s, and especially the 1950s, diseases such as cancers, MS, all of these sorts of different things that humanity goes through, diabetes, I don't know what you guys play with in your spare time, those sorts of heavy things that make people withdraw into a darker aspect of themselves. All of that is being affected as well. Because don't forget that on a subatomic level and deeper than that, basically every cell of your body is a mini solar system, is a reflection on a holographic level of that mini solar system that we also sit in, much like the solar system itself is a cellular structure, a cellular body in the galaxy, much like the galaxy itself. It operates as a cell in the universe. So it really is about dimensions here and about the larger and the smaller. All of that is coming to an end, is rebalancing as humanity prepares to move into its next phase of evolution. That is really all that there is to it, and it is a fantastic time to be on Earth. It is a fantastic time to be alive right now. Not only to witness all of this happening, but truly to be a creator of it. And if anything, that is my core message during this introductory class for you today. You are doing this, you are creating this, and the more you understand that, and the more you step out of the humanness of your life, the small human life that most people live with, their day-to-day activity, everything that they think about, the TV programs that they watch, everything that they consider important, the faster you are aligning with that, the faster you are moving forward with that. So, in conclusion to all of this, I would like to try and make you understand that you are doing all of it. Ultimately, as has been said many times before, there is no such thing as a solar system the way we think of it in a physical reality. This was touched upon by Akara as well. We are told that we live on this spherical piece of matter that is orbiting other spherical piece of matter, that they are connected through a vacuum, but all of that is merely the warping of perspective that was part of the planetary matrix that we are now moving out of. So all of these things are going to be opening up. Your relationship to the universe is going to be very different. And I say going to be, but really what I should say already is different. I would like to, in closing today, present you with an exercise, and I would like to ask you between today and day two of this webinar, which, if I'm correct, is January 3rd. I'm not certain, but it's on our site, of course. And I would like you to send in your experiences with this. When you have a moment of silence before you fall asleep at night, connect to the rest of the solar system. Start a conversation with the sun. Start a conversation with Venus and with Jupiter, and see what happens. See what comes back. You will find that you know each other very, very well, and that it will be a reconnection of old friends. As I've said before, in the past, you would only be able to do this in the form of the electromagnetic spin field and all of that. But these days, you can go directly via the realm of feeling, via the heart chakra. Because that is another thing you see that is falling away, as we've said for a long time. The chakra system, the ley line system, all of these things are connected to the planetary matrix and are in place, or were in place, as a filter to stop you from making these connections. And this is, of course, what Lemurians have known all along. I believe that during the many years that you've been on this path, Lotus, Ikara and others spoke to you about Lemurian times and how Lemurians, without actually ever leaving their bodies, could travel to any other place in the solar system or in creation itself, even if it wasn't in creation yet. When they thought of it or when they imagined it, it would become part of creation. So that is the exercise I want to give you. You see, when you have a moment of quiet, when you are in meditation, whatever it is you do to find that inner balance, that inner harmony and that inner peace, connect to these bodies, connect to the sun, connect to Venus, connect to Jupiter, and not only start a conversation, but once you have reintroduced yourselves, let's say, actually travel there. Go there from within. Focus on what Ikara taught you yesterday in the first solar meditation, the power of 1,000 suns, in the workings of the heart chakra in conjunction with the flower of life geometrical grid, and shift yourself to that planetary body and send in your observations. It is in doing so, by sending in all of your observations together, in doing so, that you will actually see that you are not just imagining things. Because I will guarantee you that everyone here who is taking part in this class today is going to come back with the same results. And that means it is real. That means that you're not just making something up, you will actually be able to interact directly. And not only that, but you will also be able to connect to one another on these different bodies. And that is what we're going to do in one of the exercises that is going to come up. We're going to, after you've experimented with this in the days to come, we're going to do an exercise live where we'll travel, all of us together, at the same time to these various planetary bodies and engage one another, interact with one another, which ultimately, of course, will make a final attempt to take you completely into Akenaic space, into that arena of sovereign domain that we then call Honomeia, which is the ultimate starting place, the heart of the central sun herself, which is basically where ascended life tends to hang out most of the time when we're not in body. So that is what we're going to be doing. I hope that so far you have enjoyed this very brief introduction to the solar activations. In fact, I wanted to say this at the start of today's event, but I'm going to say it now in closing. The next segments that we're going to be presenting are not going to be 1 hour long, but 1.5 hours long. Much like our next webinar will be the 5 breaths, where we'll do that, and we've already planned that in. And the reason why we're going to do that is because 1 hour each time is going to be theory, discussions like we're doing today, and the closing half hour is going to be these exercises each time. So how do you feel about all of this? I mean, I've been talking so much, I haven't given you a lot of chance to say things here.
Well, it feels like we've got some fantastic things coming up, kids. I'm very excited, actually.
We sure do.
It's something brand new for me as well, to have the solar system come in. Never met the sun, the Venus, the Jupiter, and Saturn, of course.
You see her every day.
Yeah, say hello, but you know.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think it's fantastic what's transpiring. We're finally over the hump. It feels like of a long and sometimes arduous path.
Say that again.
And could be happier to see the back of some of those times. So I'm glad we've all made it, and I would like to thank you again for who you are. I really for being here and taking an active part in this. It's really important.
Yes, thank you all from my heart as well. You have no idea how important you are. Sometimes even ascended life and people that we connect to and work with will get into conflict even about this, because you don't understand what we understand. You don't understand just how vital you are, how important you are to all of creation, to the momentum that is now being created, to the evolution of the human species yourself. You are consciousness pioneers, you are ascension pioneers, you are on the leading edge of expansion. And when you go into this friction mode between yourself and everything else around you, that truly has an impact, as I have now explained in the course of this last hour. So again, yes, you rock.
Cool.
You rock, just like the third rock from the sun that we are on. And of course, that's one thing left that I forgot to say here. Of course, after channeling all of these different bodies that we are going to be channeling, the concluding thought of this entire webinar is of course going to be presented by Gaia herself, who has a lot to say about the solar activations, as we'll do them in the days to come as well. So get into this exercise that I have invited you to do. Connect to these solar bodies. When you are reconfirmed, when you have reconnected with them properly, when you have reharmonized with them, actually do the exercise of traveling there by going within. In fact, in part 2 and part 3 of Ikara's meditation that was started yesterday, he's going to talk you through that, how you can actually do this. Tomorrow will be part 2 of that. So already try it tonight, I would say. But if you have difficulties with it, or if you don't know whether you were successful in it or not, then you will get the actual exercise and he will talk you through it at that time tomorrow. We'll let you know exactly what time that is, and then send in your experiences or share them on the forum of the Ascendosphere, so that we can all see that these results are actually real. And then in day 2 of this particular webinar, we'll actually start experimenting with taking these journeys ourselves, and that is going to be very brilliant, because we're going to be able to connect with one another and to see one another without the limitations of these physical bodies. And then you will actually see that you are all extremely stellar, that you are all beautiful stars that shine bright every night, reflecting your own essence back to you as you look up in the skies each time. In closing, finally now, I would like to say that if you would like to watch this episode of the Solar Activations again, that if you have a streaming ticket, in the next several hours you will be alerted when the streaming version of this event will become available, so that you can watch it over and over and over again, as many times as you want, in the webinar lounge on the Ascendosphere. A transcript will also be made available in the next days. And of course, if you have a download ticket, you'll be able to download these videos and these transcript files to keep and work with forever. Again, thank you for being here. And I think it should be up to Lotus now to say the closing words, given that I've said so much already.
Okay. Well, I wish everyone the very best of luck with the exercises. I hope you have fruitful results from that. A big thank you again, and I look forward to seeing you for episode 2.
Me too. And in the next couple of hours as well, we'll be in the chat rooms on the Ascendosphere and on the Ascendosphere Skype group, in case you would like to connect with us and share with us what you have experienced during today's event. So, be well, be in love, be in joy, be in freedom. Throw off the chains that would limit you, and instead choose the celebratory beingness that you truly are. I am Kwan Yin, It was my great joy to be back here with Lotus today. And namaste. See you soon. Bye.